Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're watching PNT. I'm your host, wondering what would have happened if Jack hadn't been quite so nimble jumping over that candlestick. PNT would like to congratulate our winner of our $50 Visa gift card contest, Cairo Sway Girl, who was clever enough to piece together the Easter eggs that we scattered throughout this year's episode and solve the final puzzle at the end. Congratulations, Cairo Sway Girl. Enjoy the gift card. Stay tuned upcoming this month for our yearly UFO review, where we pick the top 5 UFO cases that we've covered in the previous year. Up front this week, according to an article by the Huffington Post, one Spaniard's life's work is out of this world, hopefully. Mr. Lucio Ballesteros of Montoedo, Spain, has for a number of years been constructing his own 60-foot wide, 2,600-pound UFO. Constructed by the 87-year-old Ballesteros in his own backyard, the writer and musician has spent nearly 100,000 euros building the UFO from materials including aluminum. Stating that his intent for constructing the cosmic craft was to enable humanity to visit a planet called 10/7, which apparently contains a race of beings very similar to humans but with a higher stature, information which was obtained from Ballesteros' own novels. Despite not currently having engines or a power source aboard, there is some speculation that even should humanity evolve spiritually and psychically enough to figure out how the technology that supposedly powers the craft works, the Spanish government may not issue a permit for the flight of our erstwhile astronaut. For PNT's part, we have to admire the dedication and imagination of Mr. Ballesteros and hope that, like his imagination, his creation will someday take flight. From Spanish saucers to pilfering primates, our next story takes us to China, where a mischievous monkey was caught red-handed by one of his own. Visitors to the Qinghuangdao Wild Animal Hospital in Hebei Province were visiting the chimpanzee exhibit when one of the precocious primates grabbed hold of the tourist's selfie stick and pulled it through the cage bars. One of his fellow tenants then grabs the stick and promptly pushes it through the bars before offering it to the stunned tourists. The chimpanzees were unharmed in the incident, and the selfie stick appeared to be shaken up, but undamaged. When asked, the selfie stick declined to press assault charges against its assailant and simply wished to be returned to its owners. For PNT's part, we cannot help but take the side of the furry felon in this case. If we were locked in a cage being photographed by tourists all day, we'd likely steal their sticks too. But we must note the fact that at least in the animal world, courtesy and good conduct still matter. For the final part of our weekly roundup of the weird, PNT is pleased to bring you an exclusive UFO report submitted by faithful viewer and witness Turtle M. Filmed on November 19th of this year, the video appears to show a strange object hovering over the morning skies of Portland, Oregon. Let's have a look at the footage.
Easy. Crap, I gotta go to work.
So what was the object caught on tape by one of our own viewers the morning of November 19th, hovering over Portland? Let's run down the possibilities. The presence of birds throughout the footage tells us that the object is most likely not a flock of birds. The object clearly does not move or change shape over the course of the video, as a large flock of starlings or other small birds would. PNT did make note of the curious fact that the birds visible in the video seemed to be greatly disturbed by something. But whether it was the object itself or the contents of a nearby trash can remains to be seen. So if not birds, what about clouds? To be fair, PNT did put this at the top of the list of possible explanations, but there are some curious facts that possibly cast this into question. First is the obvious lack of any other clouds in an otherwise clear sky. The witness himself comments on this in his testimony. While singular cloud formations are not unknown, such as the lenticular clouds that often cause UFO reports on other channels, the object seen in the video is clearly not of the classic lenticular cloud shape. In fact, the shape of the object is another oddity. Over the course of the clip, the horns and contours of the moth-shaped form never alter or change shape, as would be the case with a cloud that would be subject to the breezes that often arise from bodies of water during the early morning hours. Also, there is the color of the object to consider. While the sunrise itself, visible behind the trees and buildings, is of a deep orange or red, the moth itself is a shade of bright pink, not the deeper red or gold that would most likely be present reflecting off the moisture droplets present in a cloud. With this collection of odd facts casting doubt on the cloud theory, drones or aircraft would be the next rational explanation. Common sense alone would seem to belie both possibilities, as they bear no resemblance to the object seen in the video. This is further strengthened when PNT searched for nearby commercial airports and military installations. While both are present in Portland, neither are in the line of sight of the witness. Wait a second here, PNT. Line of sight? How the heck do you determine that? Simply, faithful viewers, as our witness was astute enough to provide the cross streets of his location and direction he was facing at the time, PNT was then able to match features on Google Earth, such as buildings, street, and traffic lights, against the video to determine the exact position of the witness, and also the direction or line of sight. This then enables us to see if there are any airports, military bases, or other structures that might account for the sighting. Determining the line of sight then led us to our next logical possibility: balloons. Tracing the line of sight reveals that the sighting appeared in a direct line with Waterfront Park, the Stark Street Ferry historical marker, and the Oregon Maritime Museum. Reasoning that what we might be seeing is a large festival balloon, PNT diligently searched the event calendars for the park, the Maritime Museum, and the city of Portland itself. We found nothing more than a dead end. None of the parks or museums in the area had events on the date and time in question, including the city of Portland itself. With the sole exception of an ongoing citywide location scavenger hunt, there were no other events on November 19th, and unless Portland was using a large inflatable of a giant pink moth as part of their scavenger hunt at dawn over downtown, only to have it disappear, this definitely rules out balloons or special events as a possible cause. So with logic and Occam's razor leading us nowhere, then what does that leave us? Only with the myriad possibilities presented by the unknown. Was this object a cloaked UFO sent by an alien intelligence? An unknown natural phenomena? Or perhaps a darker possibility? A test of the so-called blue beam program that some have claimed projects incredibly detailed holographic images into the sky, for the nefarious purpose of faking a global extraterrestrial invasion. While we may never know for certain, PNT must admit that while we cannot conclusively identify the unknown object or creature that viewer Turtle M witnessed, we will state that we find the possibility of a visiting giant pink moth from the far reaches of outer space far more comforting than a false flag event staged by a vast government conspiracy. But still, in the end, we leave the object here classified as a true UFO. But whether the strange object captured on tape hovering over Portland in November was an odd cloud, the test of a dark military project, or something else entirely, we'll leave up to you to decide. Sound off in the comments section below with your thoughts. That's it for this time, faithful viewers. Be sure to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when PNT presents your next portion of the paranormal. I'm your host, reminding you to keep an open mind, because a closed one shuts out the truth.